both examples of Chinese capital making very, very big bets in New York. There's some other big bets in New York that are on this panel. Maybe I'll turn to Andrew. We had your partner from Related on a panel earlier this morning, but you are in the equity. Tell us how you view Hudson Yards development from the perspective of an investor as opposed to, say, the perspective of the developer.
We have an intriguing position in that we sort of have a balance between traditional investor, and we've, as I think everyone knows, have started a very significant asset at Hudson Yards, which we've actually brought in a number of other investors that perhaps we're looking at the development from the specifics of that particular one asset. We sit in partnership with Related in the general partner of that overall development over a little amount of the next 10 or 15 years. So you made the point earlier, long term. I think there's 2 or 3 things that drove us to that investment philosophy around New York. A belief in New York. B, a general view as a company, and if we got into some of our other investments, I think we would have a similar theme, which is the general, in our view, urbanization of people wanting to live, work, and play in a very urban environment. Less driving, more living in the city, and we're seeing that trend as well in Canada as well as in Europe, and specifically for us, London. And the other thing, I think, at least from our dynamics around that environment was the use of office space and how tenants are continuing to evolve in terms of their desire for new. And that comes not because they want the newest and flashiest, but because they want the newest and the most efficient. And their ability to consolidate in a market like New York City, where 1,000,000-foot blocks of space or 600,000-foot blocks of space to consolidate multiple businesses and multiple buildings are just not as readily available. And so the ability to deliver that with also delivering with an environment just made us look at this city, see where it's going, and the demands that are continuing to drive here, and just seeing the long-term value in being involved in a project that's going to deliver multiple asset classes over a long period of time.
So you've made a substantial investment in Hudson Yards.
We have, and we've made a long-term commitment with our partner to be in that development project at its multiple phase levels.
And it's fair to say you have or evolving a global view of real estate.
Correct.
Your partner, Paul Brundage, moved recently to London, established an office there. So if you could take the experience that you're gaining by doing the Hudson Yards development and apply it to the world, can you speculate where you might find the next similar development where it would be suitable for you?
That's a tough one. We think Hudson Yards is pretty unique by every standard in New York, North America, and the world. But we're involved in similar development projects, not nearly to this mixed-use environment, and I guess that's just going to be something we'll have to continue to look to do. But in our home market, I'll use an example of a transaction. We acquired the Metro Toronto Convention Center. And our view long-term of that is it's going to be a large downtown urban mixed-use development over the next 10 years in Toronto. We'll have residential, we'll have hotels, we'll have office. So in some ways, a similar dynamic, not nearly to the scale. And in another example of investment we looked at in Washington, D.C., if people are aware of the city center development in Washington, D.C., again, major urban mixed-use development of which we happen to not be involved in the entire development, but felt that we could get access to a site that was going to be integrated into what Hines is delivering at city center. So there are themes in our investment around all of that in all of our markets.
And Toronto is your home city.
Correct.
Are you doing the development yourself, or do you have a development partner?
No, in Canada, we're somewhat different than a lot of, we are a fully integrated real estate company in Canada, so we're executing the developments on behalf of our own capital as well as others. And